Let's start with the basic point we shouldn't need to say, but it just stops people writing it as some sort of retort. It's not okay when ordinary people are caught up in violence brought about by crazy leadership. Okay. But people talk of propaganda and Russian propaganda. And I think people are blind to the propaganda we are being force-fed, that is being pushed out by Zelensky, who is a puppet for whomever, I'd argue the World Economic Forum. But let's just take a few examples. Ukraine soldiers told Russian officer to go F-bomb yourself before they died on island. This was the attack on Snake Island. And you'll remember all of the news headlines merrily reporting that these soldiers told Putin to go F himself before they were blown up in a blast of smithereens and smoke. And what we didn't really get to hear so much about was a few days later when it turned out that the Snake Island soldiers who told Putin to go F himself were actually, alive and well and were actually taken prisoner. So they weren't blown up at all. That was just, contrivance, speculation, something that made for a great story. And then we had Zelensky coming out and saying there was going to be nuclear Armageddon. This could be the end of Europe. He says, you all know the word Chernobyl. And he was warning that we were all facing impending doom. Well, it turned out a few days later that the international authorities came out and said, sure, the power supply to Chernobyl was cut briefly, but there's no kind of nuclear work going there. There's just the power rods that are cooling. And so there is no imminent safety threat. That's the international organisation saying there's no safety threat. A little bit different to Zelensky saying we're all going to die immediately in some nuclear Armageddon and therefore we must close the skies, we must go to war. And then finally yesterday we had babies crushed under rubble, babies die in maternity hospital blast, children lost in the rubble. I'm just looking here on Sky News, children buried under rubble, again from Zelensky saying that babies were crushed by the horrors of the war. And not that it's okay that anybody dies. Remember we said at the start, it's not okay when ordinary people are hurt. But Ukraine wore 3 dead as maternity hospital hit by Russian airstrike. Clearly, it's never great when hospital hits, but the whole babies buried under the rubble that Zelensky spoke of, well, no, 2 adults have been hit in some way and a further child died, and that's catastrophic. But it is not what we've been told. There aren't babies being crushed under the rubble. There isn't going to be a nuclear Armageddon anytime soon. And these heroic soldiers who told Putin to F-bomb off and then died, well, they didn't actually die either. Propaganda is not just coming from the Russian side now, is it? And it may be, when you review the footage of Zelensky dancing in high heels and a rubber outfit, that he's actually a much, much better actor than anybody first gave him credit for.